Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sergey Mimka. I'm a client technical specialist with IBM, focusing on security products and digital trust portfolio. Today, I'm coming to you live from the beautiful city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. And being from Ukraine, I would like to dedicate today's demonstration to Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. You may ask, Sergey, why are you downtown Philadelphia and not in an office or a server room? Well, I wanted to show you an example. With the solution that we're demoing today, called MaaS360, you're able to manage mobile devices, laptops, and desktops. In cities like Philadelphia, there are a lot of things to do. And with a lot of things to do comes a lot of risk of losing your device. For example, your phone, which in today's day and age contains a little bit more than just your personal photos or email or calendars. It also has your work information, sensitive data, client information, emails, calendars, contacts, corporate shares, attachments. You don't want to risk losing that information. So that's where the solution is very good. So what I'd like to do now is actually share my screen with everyone. You should be seeing it on your screen momentarily. All right. So what you're seeing here is the MaaS360 console. It is a web-based console. So all you need is an internet connection and a laptop. On the very first screen, we have the Alert Center. It will show us the number of tiles that are assigned to specific groups of devices. We do have the blue and the green for informational purposes. And then there are red tiles, which would require some attention. So while the solution does come with some pre-canned tiles, we can leverage a variety of attributes to create your own custom reports. For example, that will show you if a device is not in compliance with a specific operating system, or doesn't have a specific work application, or location services have been disabled and you're not able to track your work device. On the top right, we have a snapshot of our environment, so how many devices are enrolled in the system, how many users are added to the system. For users, we can actually integrate with your corporate user directory and pull in all of your users or specific groups, and then assign applications, documents, or policies to those groups. Then we also have applications, which are ready to deploy to your devices, and documents. It could be documents that are stored in the IBM cloud or stored in your corporate shares. At the bottom, we have My Advisor, which is powered by Watson. Now, Watson is IBM's artificial intelligence, and what we did is we combined the MaaS360 mobile device management solution and artificial intelligence to help expedite the process of deploying a security system. That means that the system will automatically review your policies, your devices, the state of your devices, and what is currently happening in the market by reviewing a variety of articles and research papers and seeing if there are any risks. By comparing those two, the system is able to suggest some ways of eliminating those risks. And if we click on Learn More here, we can see the suggestions, the references, where the sources are coming from, and it's up to the administrator to decide if they want to deploy that solution. Next, what I would like to do is dive into our device inventory section. Now, the device inventory section will list out all the devices that we are managing in our portal. Today, I only have my MacBook Pro, so we will focus on that. If I click on View, it will give us an in-depth look into my machine. On the top, you will see the hardware inventory information. So the username, operating system, model. In the middle, it's very important. It will actually show us that the system is recognizing our device as enrolled, it's in compliance, last time it reported, and of course the policy that it has to follow. Policies are rules that determine how a machine or a device behaves once it's added to the system. So that will determine how users are interacting with their device, whether we want to limit certain features, and you can apply different policies to different departments. We will talk about that in the next section. Before we do that, I wanted to point out a couple of real-time actions on the top right. Here we can locate the device. We can see where it is at the moment. We also have an option for a report to show you where the device has been in the last 7 days, which you can export it and provide as a report. Next, we have a messaging feature, which will send a message to your device or to multiple devices. And you can let your employees know about anything that is happening at the organization, or if you need to notify them of something immediately on their device screen. We can also lock the device. So if you're in a situation and riding into an Uber in the city of Philadelphia and you leave your laptop there, you want to make sure whoever opens that laptop does not have access to that machine. So we can lock it. Under More, you can see that there are a couple of other features. So we can push out the operating system updates. We can do that for your mobile devices and for your Mac OS or Windows. We do have a full wipe feature, which will wipe the entire hard drive. There is a different wipe. It's called a selective wipe. So let's say we're back in that Uber. We left our machine in that Uber. We know we will get it back in 3 hours. We hope so. But in the meantime, we want to protect that data. So we will perform a selective wipe. It will remove only the corporate data. So work email, calendar, contacts, Wi-Fi settings, documents, that will all be removed. Now, as soon as we get the machine back, we're able to click on the same button, and it will be called Revoke Selective Wipe. And that information will push that data right back to our machine. And the user can go on with their day, and they never had to come into the office to get that done. We can also execute shell scripts if needed. You can do that for Windows or for Macs. So next, let's dive into our security policy section, one of the most important areas of our solution. So again, policies are rules that determine how a device interacts with corporate data. We do have a number of default policies available right out of the box. You can see the logos on the right-hand side. So we have iOS, Android, Windows, Mac. And today, let's focus on the iOS policy. Now, the reason we have different policies is because every device has a different set of features. They're named differently. So we want to make sure that we have independent policies for the platforms, but you can have multiple devices under each policy. Here we will click on Edit, and the first section is the passcode. So you can enforce a passcode onto your devices and machines. As an administrator, you can pre-configure the requirements, such as setting the minimum passcode length, the idle time, the grace period. Then with restrictions, we're going to dive into the specific features on the device. So for iOS, we can restrict the use of camera, FaceTime, screen capture, Siri, Touch ID. This is a long list. I will not go through everything, but it goes all the way down to features like Safari or even specific areas of iCloud. Next, we have application compliance. Application compliance is a very powerful tool. It allows us to create a blacklist or a whitelist. A blacklist is a list of applications that we do not want our users to have on our devices. So if we want to restrict something like Facebook, we can just type Facebook. It will auto-populate in the list below. We select it. When we apply the policy to that device, Facebook disappears. Not only disappears, it's not going to be available in the App Store. That would require the Apple Business Program, which is free. Our engineers would be happy to configure that for you. Then there's a whitelist. It is the opposite approach. Here we can set a list of applications that we do want our employees to have. So I will just use WebEx as an example. Again, just typing it in the box, it will auto-populate it. Next, we have Active Sync. So we have work data, work email on our devices. What we're able to do here is pre-configure the settings and automatically push them to the device once it's enrolled in the system. And that way, email will flow. The user doesn't really have to worry about configuring it themselves. And when we execute that selective wipe that I mentioned earlier, the mailbox will be removed. And when you revoke the selective wipe, it will be pushed back. We do have Wi-Fi, which allows administrators to push out Wi-Fi settings to the devices. So when your employees walk into one of your offices, you don't have to worry about providing them the passwords and opening up that risk. The device will automatically connect to the device as soon as they walk into the building. Now, this policy is primarily focused on a corporate device approach where the company is issuing the devices. There is another side to mobile device management, and that is BYOD, bring your own device. Now, that is controlled by our workplace persona policy, which in a way you can think it's like a dual persona container. So you have the personal side of the device with personal emails, calendars, and contacts. But then for work, we have a separate container that is encrypted with a 256-bit AES level of encryption. And that will be separate on the device from the personal data. Now, that container will house your work email, your calendar, and your contacts, as well as your corporate shares. For that container, we can set the passcode. So as I mentioned, this will enforce 256-bit AES level of encryption onto the container. But here you can configure the requirements. So we can require alphanumeric, the passcode, the history, and the age. And then we have security. Now, under the security section, we're going to focus on how users can interact with the corporate data within the container. Here, we can pre-configure that jailbroken and rooted devices, which are open to risks that are out of control of Apple or Google, are not affecting your devices or the data. Then we can restrict the use of malware on these devices, so we will scan your device for any malicious applications, and if those applications are found, we're able to remove them from the device. We do have a time bomb. Now, the time bomb will not blow up your device, no, but you can set a timer between 7 to 365 days. So if the device is inactive and the system sees that it's inactive, it will automatically remove the data. And then, of course, we can restrict export of data, so any attachments that come into work email, they cannot be put onto the personal side. We can restrict cut, copy, paste, screenshots, printing, and export of files and import of files. We can also push out email settings right into that container. So again, it's separate, encrypted, and again, with the selective wipe, you can remove it on demand. And then the browser can replace your native browser on the device. And what it can do is it can offer access to internal websites without the use of a VPN. But it can also provide URL filtering. So we have 64 categories of websites that you can use. And if we would like to, let's say, restrict the use of hacking websites on our devices, we will just populate it into this field. and select if we want to block them, block and track them, or allow and track them, and just monitor them. And we have a report dedicated to the browser, and you can see browser violations and visited URL overview. Now next, let's go into the application catalog. Here, we'll make your life a lot easier. We can do that by helping you managing and deploying your applications. We do support a variety of app stores. So we have iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac OS. So today, I'm just going to use iOS. And if I enter WebEx again, it will auto-populate it. We can select it. We can make sure it's distributed to specific devices, groups of devices, or all of your devices. And click on Add. That's it. Your device will receive the application automatically. Then there's the dock section. Now the dock section is also very powerful. It does reside within that encrypted container. And what it will do is give your employees access to not only corporate shares, but also documents that you may want to upload right here. Now to upload a document, just click on Add Document, apply some restrictions, and again, distribute it to whoever you would like. Now if you would like to use your shares and don't want to store these documents in the IBM Cloud, we do support IBM Connections, SharePoint, FileShare, Box, Google Drive, and other CMS protocol repositories. Now lastly, I would like to show you the reports section. It's a very powerful section which I use a lot. It helps me understand where are my devices, what kind of platforms am I deploying, how are they being deployed, how many of them are personal versus corporate owned. So it's a very interesting tool, and one of my favorite features is that you can subscribe to automatic reports to be delivered to your inbox or your colleagues' inboxes. And you can do that on the right-hand side. But that gives us a general overview of what MaaS360 does and how it can help you manage your devices. Now I'd like to thank everybody for having the demonstration with me today. And thank you for your support for Ukraine. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.